Hello fellow homesteaders, we are now going to do a small batch of wool, clean it in our sink. I'm going to pull out some large debris that's in here. It's always a good idea to get out as much of the big debris as you can. And I'm going to put my stopper in the sink. Some folks who do theirs in the sink as opposed to the washer or a tub outdoors have had problems with debris or little particles of wool that clog up their sink. I personally haven't had that problem, but I use a drainer or a strainer, whatever you want to call it, more straw and hay, with a screen in it to make sure that no big particles of anything are going down my sink. So now I'm going to fill this with warm water, not hot but warm. You want to be just a shade above lukewarm. And while the water's filling, I'm going to gently mush around. Gently is the key word because you do not want to wet felt your wool. I'm going to wash around, push down a little bit, get out any more large debris I find. Actually, it's not a bad idea to put your water in before the wool. If you use, this is a pretty big batch for a sink. It's probably close to 2 pounds. Probably more like 1.5 pounds. You don't want to have any wool directly under your water because the movement and the heat tends to cause some felting. So you can go ahead and fill your sink up beforehand if you want to. But you want to just gently push the wool around. Make sure it's all saturated with the water. You only need enough water that it's going to cover the wool. If you have any big pieces, which I did not in this batch, like I did in the batch that we did in the washer, you want to pull them apart. And the white that you can see, it's nice and silky. That's the lanolin escaping from the wool, which you need to occur before it dyes. Your water feels nice and silky. You don't want to agitate it too much. You just want to gently push it down. Make sure it's all saturated. I don't really measure anymore. It's about a tablespoon of Blue Dawn or whisk or whatever dish soap that you use. Just a mild, natural homemade, if you have it, dish soap. And again, you're just going to keep doing this to simulate the agitation of a delicate cycle or hand wash cycle on your washer. You do not want to felt your wool. The more movement and the more heat there is, the more chance it is that your wool will felt. And it doesn't hurt to carefully pull a piece up and make sure you're not getting anything that's too mushed together. It looks like you're actually trying to wet felt it for an art project. That's still pretty well holding its standard shape. So now you see more white in here. It's a combination of the lanolin for my hand agitation and the Blue Dawn bubbles. Now you're going to let this soak for about 10 minutes. And then we will drain the water. And then we will fill it back up with warm water again. And the next time we are going to use 2 to 3 tablespoons of distilled white vinegar. Now we have well water, which is great, wonderful, soft water. If you have a problem where you live with water, you may want to use this distilled water to make sure it's not too hard or anything too harsh in there that's going to destroy your wool or inhibit it from taking color if you're collaring it. If you're not going to collar your wool and you're just going to use it for stuffing, once we take it out of these baths, just like with the large washer method, you need to let it dry thoroughly, spread out in a screen or a rack or a towel or a table for 1 to 3 days. If you're going to put it on the table, I definitely recommend putting on some type of a bath mat or silicone mat or a towel so the bottom part doesn't lay and get mildewy in the water. So we're going to let that set for a while. We've mushed it all the way around nice and gently, just pushing it down. Let the Blue Dawn work its magic. Let all the lanolin come out of it. And then we will release the water and we will fill it back up with warm water and vinegar. And we'll repeat this process again. And then we will rinse it clean and then we'll be ready to dye. Hello again, fellow homesteaders. We've let our wool soak. So now I'm going to drain the water. We'll take a look. and see what we've ended up with from the first stage of the cleaning. I have my little screen in here, but I'm still holding my stopper to make sure nothing gets, any big particles get loose and down the drain. And as gently as possible, pull my wool back. So I got a tinky tiny bit inside, but not much. Okay, so I'm gonna lock that back in place, and we'll take a look, see how it's looking. As you can see, there's still some dirt on the wool, and then here in the water itself. So I'm going to move this around a little bit. You don't want to squeeze it out like you would a rag. You'll definitely have felted wool if you do that. You just want to apply some gentle pressure, just like that. Try to get it out of any of the dirty water that it's still holding before you put on your vinegar rinse. It's a little gentle squeeze. And now I'm going to move it to the other side of the sink, just so I can give a squeeze on the other side of the wool, because we don't want to wring it out. That is so very important. The only real way you can ruin your wool from washing it or dyeing it is if you use the wrong temperature of water, or you manipulate it far too much. And you may have a couple pieces here and there that don't turn out perfectly, and use it for stuffing instead of another project. Or if you are very good at wet felting, you might be able to bring it back. That is one technique I love and have not learned. And a friend of mine is going to teach me how to do it here very soon. Those are all great homestead side hustles. A good way to make some extra money from the items that are available for free on your homestead. So you can see we still have dirt and debris in there. So I'm going to fill it back up with warm water again. You only want enough water. It's going to cover your wool. You want to spread it out, but carefully. You can't emphasize enough how important it is not to overly handle your wet wool. And while that's filling up, I'm going to go ahead and pour in my vinegar, about 2 to 3 tablespoons worth. And this will help pull out, loosen up any more dirt and debris, and will also prepare the wool for the dye. I'm still seeing a bit of lanolin come out of it. That's not uncommon. Your hope is always, that looks like enough water to me. Oh, maybe a little more. You do not want hot water. Hot water will activate the wool too much. Your hope is that always that you get all the lanolin out during the first soak. You really want to avoid a third one. Going into a third soak, you probably will end up with felted wool. So again, I'm just pushing it down. Make sure the vinegar is evenly distributed in the water. Making sure all my wool is fully saturated. And again, releasing more lanolin. A lot of lanolin in this batch. Now I'm just going to let it soak for at least a good 10 minutes. And then I will give it a final rinse. And while I'm waiting to bring it out of the second bath and to rinse it off, I'm going to go ahead and get my dye prepped. So as soon as I take this out, releasing the water, rinsing it through, again with warm water, more of a lukewarm in the third one when you're just rinsing off the vinegar. I want to make sure that I have my dye ready to go, and we can get right to dyeing it before it gets dry. If it gets dry, or you have some wool stockpiled that you end up needing a little bit more for a project than what you thought, and you're going to pull it out of your bin from your stuffing, you can just simply wet it again because it's clean. But the more you wet it and more you handle it, the more chance of it becoming felted and pulled apart and not being really good to use for your project, depending on the type of project that you're doing. So just try to make sure that it's be better that if you have wool and you put too much in a bath to prepare it for making some Waldorf styled animals or neater felted wall hanging, playscape, whatever you're doing. So to have a little extra, because the worst case scenario, you don't put it in the dye and it goes ahead and dries, and you can then again add it to your stash for your natural batting or polyfill that's natural, not full of chemicals. You can use it for dolls and pillows and quilt batting, whatever you might want. So you can definitely get more use out of it that's been dried than trying to reconstitute a piece that you need to wet again after it's been dried for a significant amount of time.